There, welcome to the Alameda Free Library School Age Storytime. My name is Miss Virginia. Thank you for joining us today. School Age Storytime is a storytime designed for kids ages about 4 to 8, so thank you for coming and tuning in. We're going to have some stories today about family, some newer stories. The first one I have is brand new for us. This is called 10 Beautiful Things. And this is written by, let me scoot over a bit, Molly Beth Griffin, and it's illustrated by Maribel Lechuga. And it's a wonderful book. I hope that you will enjoy it. It's called 10 Beautiful Things. I bet you can think of more than 10 beautiful things. All right, here we go. Lily ran her finger across the Iowa map. Do you know where Iowa is? It's in the middle, sort of the middle of the country. An X marked Graham's house on an empty patch of land. This would be Lily's new home. Graham's car tires hummed against the pavement. Lily felt the vibration in her hollow chest. Let's try to find 10 beautiful things along the way, Graham said. Think you could find 10 beautiful things along the way? Let's see what Lily and Graham can come up with. Lily turned her eyes to the window. There's nothing beautiful here, she said. She struggled to fold the map so it nestled into itself just right. You'd be surprised, Graham said. And sure enough, at that very moment, the sun broke over the long horizon. That is truly a beautiful sunrise. Lily gasped. There's number 1, she cried. Right you are, Lily, said Graham. Fence posts rushed past. Graham flipped on the radio, trying to fill the silence. Lily felt the complaints starting in her belly again, coming up her throat and nearly out of her mouth. Uh-oh. But then Graham shouted, number 2. I wonder what number 2 is. Do you have a guess? I saw the sunrise. Oh, a wind farm had sprouted in the field beside the freeway. Spinning windmill blades gleamed in the morning sun. Have you ever seen those giant windmills anywhere that look like that? They are pretty impressive. Lily concentrated on the game and found number 3 real fast. A red-winged blackbird perched on a swaying stalk of last year's corn. It was dark and bright all at once, its beak wide open in a song they couldn't hear. There's number 3, the blackbird with the red wings. Later, Graham signaled and turned the car onto a smaller road. 2 more highways to go, she said. Lily popped a handful of crackers into her mouth, but food did not fill up her hollow places. Graham cracked a window, and in rushed air and sound and cold. They crossed a bridge, and Graham chose number 4, the gurgly sound of a melting creek. Lily dozed off. She woke up when Graham tapped her knee and pointed out a falling apart barn. That's not pretty, Lily said. That can't count. We're not looking for pretty. We want beautiful, Graham said. So it stood halfway to 10. Do you think that barn, that picture is beautiful? In a way. At a rest area, Lily bounced out of the car while Graham stretched her creaky body. Lily picked number 6. The smell of mud, she said, inhaling. Graham shut her eyes and nodded slowly. It's earthy and rich. I'd never really noticed before. Lily breathed in the mud smell and focused on just that. It poured itself into some of the empty spaces inside her. Back on the road again, the car seemed smaller. The humming in Lily had stopped, but her legs wanted to sprawl and her stomach was getting queasy. You know what queasy means? Not good. We're on a roll now, Graham said, and she was right about that. 7 and 8 were easy. A cloud shaped like a swan, and a little brown calf that trotted beside the fence. Do you see the swan? And there's the calf. Miles and miles later, they turned onto their last road and the clouds began to draw close. The sky grew dark, the earth rumbled suddenly. The air exploded in bright flashes. Cloud banks traded lightning back and forth, showing off. Thunder and lightning storms can be beautiful too. Number 9, Lily whispered, and there was no room for other words. That's all she could say. Number 9, the thunderstorm. The storm took up the whole world, and it filled Lily up too. She was here with Graham, and for a whole minute, that was all that mattered. On they drove, almost there, not far now. When they'd been almost there for a long time, Graham braked, eased the car down a crumbling driveway, and parked in front of a farmhouse. Here we be, she said, through the drum of the rain, home. But we only made it to 9, Lily said, slumping in her seat. Oh dear, can they find one more? And Graham said, nope, that's easy. Graham came around with the umbrella and Lily stepped out of the car. None of this was easy. Maybe it would never be easy, but she belonged to Graham now. She belonged here now. And that was number 10. The place was not empty, whoops, and neither was she. There we go. Sorry, that got away from me. And that is the wonderful, wonderful story called 10 Beautiful Things. They found 10. Do you ever look for interesting things when you're on a drive with your family? Sometimes those drives go on and on and on. But you could make a game of it. Sometimes we would do I Spy with my little eye, see if we could guess what the other person was looking for. But this is also a fun game, 10 Beautiful Things. I like that idea. All right, my next story is pretty new for us. Yeah, we got it last fall. This one is called Nisumis' Song of Summer. And this is written by Robert Paul Weston, and it's illustrated by Misa Saburi. This is about a couple of cousins and a bunch of cicadas, and we'll talk about cicadas in a minute. Maybe, you know what, we'll talk about them. Well, no, we'll wait till after the story. All right, Nisumis' Song of Summer. This is set in Japan. In lotus season with petals on every pond, Natsumi was born. That was how she got her name. It means the sea in summer. That's a beautiful sentiment. She loved everything about summertime. Swimming, running on soft grass, the sun, the heat, the cool bursts of plum rain, heavy and sweet. Do you like summertime too? But what she loved most were summer's insects, gleaming, crawling, fluttering with their songs and bright bodies. The air itself came to life. You like to look at bugs. They're very interesting. There were butterflies with their striped and spotted wings and the sudden sparks of fireflies. And honeybees fizzing flower to flower. There were mantises. Have you ever seen a praying mantis? Let's see. It's on top of the dog's head there. It's the green bug. Can you see it? That's a praying mantis. There were mantises, long green monks, always praying, and the speckled gems of ladybugs, red rubies upon deep blue bellflowers. You spot the ladybug? But nothing could beat the chirrup of cicadas. Her mother would say, summer has not yet begun until their song fills the air. You ever seen a cicada or heard a cicada? They make a loud chirping sound. On hot Saturdays, Natsumi and her parents went searching for them. With soft nets on bamboo poles, they reached up, rustling them free. Natsumi sometimes let one crawl along her arm, and it tickled her skin, while its body drummed and chirped. Then, wings flitting, it was gone. I'm not sure if I would be brave enough to let a cicada crawl on my arm, but they don't hurt people. Natsumi's birthday would soon arrive, and this year it would be special. Someone would come to visit from the far side of the sea. It was her cousin, a girl named Jill, but someone who was a stranger. They'd never met before, and they were related. The two girls had never, ever met. But now, this summer, Jill and her parents at last had planned a visit. Natsumi was excited, but she was also nervous. What would Jill be like? What would they have in common? Would they become friends? Or perhaps they would quarrel. There was no way of knowing. That's true. You never know if you're going to make a friend or not. At the huge airport, Natsumi saw her cousin weaving through the crowds, grinning and anxious, her eyes bright with curiosity. "Show me everything," Jill exclaimed, her voice like a bell. "Everything there is." "Everything?" asked Natsumi. Where would she even begin? I think they're going to be friends. What do you think? Perhaps at the beach, where hot sand powdered their toes, and cool on their tongues mouthfuls of watermelon turned their lips a rosy pink. Watermelon is so good. Or at the Obon Festival, where together they dance, hands waving, giving thanks to the spirits of their countless ancestors. Never know, she did want to see everything. Or by the river, their faces tipped to the stars, watching the fireworks as they bloomed in the night sky. All the colors of summer. I love fireworks. Everywhere they went, Jill squinted into the trees, listening closely and asking the same question. What is all that buzzing? Jill came from a place where there were few cicadas. She had never seen their large eyes and glossy wings, or heard their chattering hum. Natsumi wanted to show them to her cousin, but she was worried. Can you see them on the tree trunk? Insects frighten some people. What if Jill was frightened too? Would you be frightened of a big cicada? I think we're going to find out about Jill. Natsumi's birthday arrived with a bright blue sky, but Jill still squinted into the treetop shadows where hidden cicadas thrummed. She's still curious. I'll show them to you, Nitsumi said, and she scampered into the cool house and returned with 2 soft nets, each atop a bamboo pole. They swept the branches, and a pair of cicadas looped down to meet them. Would Jill be scared? Would she scream? No. She crouched down low, eyes sparkling. I think she's an insect lover, too. They're born underground, Nitsumi explained. For years, they wait in darkness. But then, when they're old enough, they climb out to meet their friends. That is true. Years and years they wait. Just like us, said Jill. Waiting and waiting, and now we finally met. Nitsumi smiled. She and Jill were truly 2 of a kind. They quietly watched the 2 crawling cicadas and as their bodies drummed, min, 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 min. Then wings flitting, they were gone. In the afternoon, they drew pictures together. Natsumi's drawing was of the 2 cicadas, but Jill sketched out something else. Can you see their pictures? Elegant green wings with 2 black and yellow spots, like half-winking eyes. What is it? Asked Natsumi. I've never seen anything like that before. And Jill said, it's a Luna moth. There it is. I think you'll see one when you come visit me. Natsumi nodded, her eyes bright with curiosity. She knew tomorrow Jill would fly home, but for now they sat side by side and listened as the warm sky filled with the song of summer. Lots of bugs in the air and cicadas thrumming. Now, Natsumi told Jill that the cicadas, they wait in the ground for a long time before they emerge, and that is true. We have this great nonfiction book called Cicadas, Strange and Wonderful. I'm not going to read you the whole thing, but this is by Lawrence Pringle, and it talks about cicadas. Now, this year, in Maryland, in the United States, and near Washington, D.C., guess what? The cicadas are going to emerge. Do you know how long they've been in the ground? 17 years. After 17 years, the cicadas are going to crawl out from the ground, and they will be everywhere. There's another picture of the cicadas. They don't live very long above ground, but they can live from 13 to 17 years under the ground. There's another picture of a cicada. They are quite big, and people get a little nervous about them because there are so many around. But the eggs are laid, and then the baby bugs, or nymphs, they live under the ground for 17 years, and then they come out. It's pretty amazing. And then they shed their skins, and then they're able to fly. They grow the wings, and they can fly around, which makes some people nervous. But they do not hurt people. They eat lots of plants and trees and leaves. Not trees, but the leaves on the trees and the plants as well. But if you're traveling to the East Coast this summer, maybe you'll get to see some cicadas, because they're coming, I think, very, very soon, if not already by the time you see this. All right, so that's a little bit about cicadas. My next story is called The Little Blue Bridge. And this is a brand new book, and it's written by Brenda Mayer, and the pictures are by Sonia Sanchez. Now, this book is based a little bit, well, a lot of it, on the Three Billy Goats Gruff. I don't know if you remember that story, but there's a troll under the bridge, and he says, "Who's tripping over my bridge?" So let's find out who the troll is and who's tripping over the bridge. Ruby's mind was always full of ideas. One day, she spotted some blueberries across the creek. "Let's go pick berries to bake in a pie," she said. Everyone imagined that sweet treat. "Okay with me," said Oscar Lee. "Let's give it a go," said Rodrigo. "You should stay," said Jose. "You're too little to cross the creek." "I'm not too little," Ruby said, but the boys left her behind. When they saw Santiago, they almost turned around. "Oh, no," said Rodrigo. "Do you think he'll let us cross?" "Is Santiago the troll?" "I'll find a way," said Jose, and he started across the creek. "Why are you trip-trapping over my bridge?" bullied Santiago. "I'm going to pick berries to bake in a pie," said Jose. Santiago stood like a stone. "I'm the boss, and you can't cross unless you give me a snack." "You should wait for my brother. He packs a better snack." "Get going then," said Santiago. "I'll give it a go," said Rodrigo, and he started across the creek. "Why are you trip-trapping over my bridge?" demanded Santiago. "I'm going to pick berries to bake in a pie," said Rodrigo. Santiago stood like a stone. "I'm the boss, and you can't cross unless you give me a snack." "You should wait for my brother. He packs a better snack." "Get going then," cried Santiago. "Wait for me," called Oscar Lee, and he started to cross the creek. "Why are you trip-trapping over my bridge?" growled Santiago. "I'm going to pick berries to bake in a pie," said Oscar Lee. Santiago stood like a stone. "I'm the boss, and you can't cross unless you give me a snack." Oscar Lee thought fast. "You should wait for my sister. She packs the best snacks." "Get going then," said Santiago. Just then, Ruby started across the creek. "Why are you trip-trapping over my bridge?" snarled Santiago. "I'm going to pick berries to bake in a pie," said Ruby. Santiago stood like a stone. "I'm the boss, and you can't cross unless you give me a snack." "I don't have any snacks," said Ruby. "Then you can't cross the creek." "I thought you might say that," said Ruby. Oh dear, what is she going to do? Well, Ruby got right to work. She rolled some rocks and laid some boards and gathered some vines. Meanwhile, Santiago stewed and he stomped. He spilled right into the water. Oh dear. But Ruby carried on. She placed the planks and hung the handrail. Santiago sloshed over. "Nice bridge," he said. "Is it finished?" "It's still missing something," said Ruby. She made a few modifications. Santiago added one of his own. Ruby was delighted. Look at that wonderful bridge Ruby made, and she even got a little help from Santiago. "I'm hungry," she said. "Want to get a snack?" And together they crossed the creek and headed straight to the blueberry bushes. Much later, when the boys stumbled back, Santiago stood on a new bridge. Look, a better way, said Jose. Well, he let us cross. Will he let us cross, though? Wondered Rodrigo. Let's ask him and see, said Oscar Lee. Actually, said Santiago, Ruby built this bridge. You better ask her. Ruby stood like a stone. Remember when you said that I was too little to go with you? Well, now I'm the boss, and you can't cross unless you bake me a pie. Jose's eyes grew wide. Rodrigo's mouth watered. Oscar Lee's stomach grumbled. I'll find a way, said Jose. Let's give it a go, said Rodrigo. Wait for me, said Oscar Lee. And from that day on, everyone could cross the creek. And in the back, there's a little bit of information about bridges. There's an arch bridge, a truss bridge, and a suspension bridge. How many types of bridges have you crossed? There's a lot of different kinds. Some very interesting looking ones as well. All right, well, those are my stories today. I hope you enjoyed them. I enjoyed reading them. Have a great summer. And guess what? Now you can come into the library and say hello. Did you know that? Come into the library and come in, say hello. You can pick out your own books or ask for help, and we're always happy to help you. So I'm excited to get to see everyone. Please stop by and please say hello. Dawn and I are here waiting for your questions. All right, everyone, take care, and I will hopefully see you soon. Bye, everyone.